everyone, it's Margaret Manning here, and welcome to 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. And my guest today is Nancy Queen. Nancy is the owner of an online shop called nobleknits.com and a knitting community. And she loves knitting, and I'm here to learn, Nancy. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Margaret. Thanks for having me at 60 and Me. How are you today?
I am great. I'm so excited because I'm one of these people, probably like a lot, who've just got started with knitting. And this is what I create, you know, like the one line.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, for me, I love color. This is my thing. I choose the wool with the color. But anyway, but lots of people want to learn knitting and they want to get started. And I would love you to go through with us, you know, just basically what you need to get, what you need to invest in terms of like, you know, accessories and the wools themselves, maybe patterns. Where would we start?
Sounds good. Well, you know, when you're just getting started, you kind of need to think of your, the tools that you need the way a painter would think of their paintbrushes and their palettes. You need a few basic items, and you're always going to have those items. And the needles that you buy are kind of an investment in what you're going to use in the future. Right. I always recommend that new knitters start with bamboo knitting needles. Mm-hmm. And the reason I recommend that is that because they have a lot more grip. If you're on a metal needle, it's very slippery. Yes. And this gives you a little bit more control. And they kind of warm in your hands. And there's it's a better way to start your knitting is with bamboo needles. All right. Yeah.
And in terms of sizes, Nancy, just to ask you, I mean, there's a range of sizes, but is there like a basic one that everyone should buy to start with?
Well, there's a million different yarns on the market, and a basic yarn is called a worsted weight. That's a middle grade. In fact, I'll show you. This is a worsted. This is UU Yarns Woolly Worsted, and it's kind of a medium thickness yarn. It's not too thick, not too thin, and the skein always recommends what needle size that you would knit on.
Okay, that's good. I didn't know that.
So this, there's a little chart on every single ball of yarn that tells you what needles, and then it usually gives you a little chart here that gives you the gauge, and that's how many stitches you'd knit over 4 inches. And that way you know, have a good reference point to begin with the yarn. Good so usually about a size 8 needle and a couple of balls of a worsted weight yarn, and choose a color you like so that you can enjoy this and enjoy the process. And I would pick a smooth yarn to start, just so that you can understand the process of the stitches and the way that the stitches are forming and why they're forming. Right. It's a lot easier to fix a mistake that you might make when you understand where you made the mistake and can understand the function of the stitch itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good advice. Right. Okay. And how about so we've got the yarns. Tell us a bit more about the different kinds of yarns, because we were talking about this earlier. There's acrylic and there's wool, and this actually was quite thick, but I don't even know whether it's real wool or not. But tell us about that, the choices.
Well, there's several things. There's various thicknesses, from really skinny yarn that's ultra fine to super thick yarn that you can knit almost 1 stitch per inch. And there's a huge variety of thicknesses. So you have to think of what you want your project to look like when it's done. And the yarn will dictate the size needle that you use. And then from a fiber standpoint, there are wools, cashmeres, natural fibers, man-made fibers. There's cotton, hemp, and then there's also combinations of those fibers where you know they've done an alpaca cotton twist, and you get the best of both properties of those yarns. And then, like you have, this looks like you might have on a hand-dyed yarn,
probably
that changes colors as you knit. There's just so many thousands of options out there. It's a very creative hobby to have. And the more you get into it, the more you'll see, wow, wait, I have to try this. I have to try this yarn.
You have three different things going on. Well, I think what's really cool actually
Exactly.
about color is that, a lot of women tend to wear black or a solid color, and just throwing a scarf on is, I mean, a scarf is one thing, but like a knitted scarf, it just gives you a
Yes.
different feeling of like completeness. Like you've added something special to it. It's not just
Yes.
normal. But okay, so we got yarns. What about those knitting needles that are in a circle? I've seen those before.
Those are round needles or circular needles. And this cowl that I'm wearing today was knitted on circular needles. I actually knitted this into a tube. So if you can see, there's no front
Oh,
or back
wow.
to it. It's a big tube. And
Oh.
so I just knitted it around and around and around. And then I seamed the ends of it. So it is an endless circle.
Like an infinity scarf.
Yes, and circular needles are
Wow.
good for knitting in the round or knitting larger projects like Afghans. But you're not going to need those right away.
I find they're
And there's,
useful. I've used them when I'm on a train and I don't want my arms to be, like, or on a plane sometimes. The round ones keep you kind of more
yes,
contained.
the tips are only 4 to 5 inches, so you
Yes.
can be in a much smaller space.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of those by any chance to hand?
Um, let's see, I
Don't mean
think
you
that I
to.
do.
I love your background, by the way. All these different
Oh,
color
thank
yarns.
you.
It's like a rainbow of color. It's beautiful. Must be so tempting actually to have a shop like you do, where you just new yarns are coming in all the time, and
It
like there's no
is,
salary.
yes.
You just like buy your next
Right.
roll, next thing to
All goes
continue.
back into the yarn. So these are circular needles. This is
Ah,
a little stuffed animal that I'm knitting. And
oh,
these are his
oh my
legs, and I
gosh, how
have to put the
cute!
arms on.
This is a Christmas holiday
um,
present. Oh, look how cute.
it
Yeah,
is, it's a baby gift. But these are circular needles, and the
that's
reason I'm
fun.
using the circular needles is because I'm knitting in the round, and this way I can just keep going and going and going. Um, and you need the needles to be smaller than what you're knitting so that it
Yes, yeah.
keeps
And then there's seam, like you haven't got a seam there, you're just hitting in a
right.
circle. So that's
Exactly.
really good for like a stuffed
Yeah.
animal, which might get knocked around a little bit or chewed by someone or
Right. And these come in various lengths. So, like I said, when you're just getting started, go with a basic. Go with a like 10-inch, 8 to 10 inch straight needle in a bamboo
right.
and a basic yarn and just a pair of scissors, a finishing needle to weave in your yarn
Right,
ends,
right.
and a measuring tape.
Very important. Oh, what about
Those
pattern?
are
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
all you need to get started,
Yeah.
really.
So it really is not an expensive hobby. I mean, you could really start with just what you can afford and just,
Exactly.
and
And
create
you can
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
We actually have links to the materials you'll need and how to knit on our website. So if you want to link that
We'll put that in the article.
in the
Yeah.
video, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. What about patterns? Do you have to use a pattern, or for a beginner, would it just be
You can, you
guesstimating?
don't have to. Sometimes when you just get started, if you're just learning how to knit, there are, like I said, we have videos, but there are so many videos, or you could go to a knitting class or learn from a friend. So you're just going to cast on, if I were knitting this, I would cast on about 10 to 15 stitches and knit every row and just watch my stitches improve and get the technique
Yeah,
down.
get
And
more.
once you get the
Yeah,
technique down, we have links to lots of beginner patterns and free patterns on our website
right. That's
that
great.
people can get started.
One thing I've really learned as a beginner is that when you put on, like, say 10, or say you put on 10 stitches and it doesn't look very big, so you keep adding more stitches till you get to 20 and you think, oh, that's about right. Once you start knitting, it like doubles in size.
Yes, it
How
does
does it
grow.
do that? It grows, and then you end up having to take it back and start again, thinking, "Oh, I only needed 10," like you said. So it's just like you said, though, it's trial and error, isn't it? And you
Yes,
just have fun making mistakes and
exactly.
enjoying
And you
it.
have to remember you're doing a hobby to enjoy, not to perfect. Give yourself permission to play and enjoy it and make some mistakes.
I love that advice. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed this. And if you're thinking of starting to knit, check out Nancy's site and just enjoy it. Have fun. And Nancy, thank you so much for being here. You've been
Thank you
fantastic.
for having me at 60andMe. Have a great day.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Nancy. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our 60andMe YouTube channel and also visit our website. We are a strong and dynamic community of women over 60. We're challenging aging stereotypes, and every day we share fascinating stories, interesting questions, and great conversation.